Namaste. Welcome to our next series of classes, and they're about spring awakening. So we're going to wake up different parts of the body, and that involves some gentle stretching, but also strengthening. So it's no good being super flexible if there's no strength there. So we're going to work different areas, and we're going to start from the ground up. So today is feet and legs. So in your comfortable seated position, have a think about how your legs feel. If cross-legged isn't right for you, then take your legs out in front of you, either with the knees bent, feet flat on the floor, the legs stretched out, or you might want to sit in a kneeling posture, perhaps with a block underneath the hips or a cushion. Lifting the hips up makes the pelvis just a little more comfy sometimes, especially if everything's a bit tight around the hip flexors. So find that position that's right for you, and then lifting the heart up, lift up through the crown of the head, relax the shoulders down and close the eyes. You can have the hands on your lap, palms down or palms face up. Find a place where you feel relaxed but dignified in this upright posture, and bring your attention to the breath. Taking some nice big mindful breaths in and out through the nose, if that's okay for you. And as we let the inhales get slowly deeper and the exhales get a little longer, I want you to think about the legs and all the things that they do for us. So the feet spreading onto the ground and adapting to the different surfaces that we're on. Lots of little bones and muscles in the feet, which mean that the feet are adapted for walking on an uneven surface. And our legs, which carry us from place to place, they can move in all sorts of directions, very complex joints and movements, the delicate arrangement of the knees and the kneecaps. Let's give them some love and attention today. So in whatever position is comfortable for you, I want you to gently lift up your right foot and give the foot a little rub, a little massage. If you don't like feet, then just take a moment to appreciate them. I used to hate looking at my toes, but I've learned to love them. So give them some attention, maybe massaging, and even putting your finger between the toes, spreading them out, giving them a wiggle. And by rubbing the feet, bring a little bit of heat, a little bit of energy into it. And just before we place it back down, give the ankle a little wriggle, circling around one way, then the other. Placing it down. Let's do the same for our left foot. So you can be quite firm and really pressing in with the thumbs, feeling those sensitive points. It might feel lovely, or you might want light strokes over your feet. Being aware of how they feel. You might feel some of the bones moving, the joints moving under your hands, allowing yourself to be really aware of your feet today. And that little circle round of the ankle, nice and gently. And then we're going to come to lying down. So moving everything out of your way that you need to, but have a yoga strap or something similar within grabbing distance if you're going to use it. And lying on your back, to start with, we'll have our legs out long, have a little wriggle of hips and shoulders, and then I want you to inhale and reach the arms up and over. So stretching the arms out behind, let them come onto the floor. And we're going to take 3 deep breaths. On the inhale, reaching out through the fingertips and pointing the toes. So full body stretch. Exhale, release and relax. twice more like that. So on the inhale, making yourself as long as possible, pointing through the feet, getting a stretch over the front of the ankle and down the foot, and then softening on the exhale. One more time. Big breath in, stretching. And on the exhale, bring the hands back down by your hips and bend the knees, place the feet on the ground. So I want you to lift just your right knee over your chest, interlace the fingers around the front of the shin and draw the right knee in. And it's totally up to you whether you stay with this left leg bent, foot on the floor, or whether you want to experiment with straightening it out. Okay, lengthening out gets more work around the hips and the thighs, but don't let it compromise your lower back. So if the lumbar spine is uncomfortable, then bend the knee again. And then I want you to take your strap, if you've got one, and loop it around the ball of your right foot. And let the strap slip through your fingers a little bit, but I want the knee still bent and the elbows still bent a little bit. And I want you to push your foot into the strap and resist with your hands. And if you've not got a strap, you can hold around the ankle or thigh and do this. And I really want you to feel like you're firing up the muscles in your legs. So you're engaging the muscles. There's some strength, some power there. And then slowly allow the strap to slip through your hands until you come to the point where your leg is as straight as it wants to go for the moment. And your hands, your arms are reaching up straight as well. And then on an inhale, bend the elbows, bend the knee. And on the exhale, push the heel and the ball of the foot up towards the ceiling. Feel something down the back of the leg and then release again on the inhale. And if this feels very easy for you, then on the end of the exhale, draw the foot and the leg closer to your head. That's going to increase the stretch down the back of the leg. One more time. So it's the exhale. We breathe out into the exhale, into that stretch, drawing the foot a little towards us if we want to intensify these sensations. And then strap, both ends of the strap go into your right hand, bend the right knee and draw the knee down towards the armpit. This is like half happy baby pose. Your left hand can rest on your left hip. Make sure the back of the hips is nice and broad and wide on your mat. And if you want to, you can hold the ankle or the outside edge of the foot instead of your strap now, drawing that right knee down towards the ground and then release. Undo the strap, lengthen out both legs again and take a moment coming into Shavasana, our corpse pose, closing the eyes if that's okay, and notice how that right leg feels compared with the left one. So there might be differences in how relaxed it feels, how long it feels. Maybe one leg feels more lifted off the ground, tighter. Just noticing any differences you can observe after just a little bit of work, how different our body can start to feel. Maybe there's a tingling sensation, a prana, movement of that life force that you can sense whizzing around that right leg. And then we're going to repeat that on the other side. So bending both legs to start with, draw the left knee over your chest for a hug in. And after a couple of breaths, you can decide whether you want to explore how it feels to stretch out the leg. And just being aware of whether your back is super arched off the ground now. Don't want any strain on that lumbar area. So if in doubt, keep the leg bent, foot flat on the floor. As you find your strap again, loop it around the left sole of your foot. And before we stretch the leg out long, keep the knee bent, the elbows bent, and find that resistance. I want to fire up your muscles in your legs so you're feeling the power of your legs as you push into the strap, but you're resisting it with your arms. Give it something to really push against. You'll feel when it's working, all those muscles are working. Then you can let the strap slip through your hands as you extend the leg out. Keep the foot flexed, pressing it up to the ceiling. Arms are straight, shoulders can be drawn back towards the mat. And then we work here. On the inhale, bending the knee, bending the elbows. On the exhale, stretching up into our strap. Give it a little bit of resistance for the foot to push into, not as much as we had a minute ago. And you've got that option to draw the foot closer to the head if you want to. Twice more. Always working in your own rhythm. So let the breath lead the movements. The length of the breath controls when you're transitioning in and out of these postures. Never worry if you're going faster or slower than I am. Good. And then again, you can pass the straps into your left hand, start drawing that left knee down towards the left elbow. And maybe you catch hold of the side of your foot or the ankle or shin. And the right hand can rest on the hip, and you might have your leg bent, you might have the left leg stretched out, noticing how that feels, the difference between those two options. Good. And then release the strap, roll onto your side and press yourself up to a kneeling posture. If kneeling is okay for you, we won't need the strap again, so you can put that out of the way. Couple of options if you don't like kneeling. One is to have a blanket under your knees. The other, if you want a bit of space behind the knees, place a blanket between the heels and the hips. And if it's completely not for you, you've got any issues going on, then do come round to a seated position with the legs in front. But I want you to do something with the feet. I want you to join in and work with the feet in some way for the next couple of movements. So if kneeling is okay, we're sitting in Vajrasana, our thunderbolt pose, and I want you to place your left foot on top of your right sole. And it just gives a little more sensation into the feet. We can think about that connection, pressing it down into the floor a little bit. Bring the hands to the heart, and we'll take some breaths here. On the inhale, drawing the arms out to the side and up, palms together at the top, exhaling down through the center. And again, inhale up, exhale down through the center. Lovely. And then bring your hands to the floor and see how it feels to tuck your toes under and sit back on them. Okay, it's not for everyone, but this is a really lovely stretch out for feet, especially if you've got issues going on, and it's good to stretch out the tendons. So as long as there's no pain, go with it. It's not the most comfortable thing in the world for our toes, but it's good for you, I promise. So to distract you from any strong sensations, let's bring the fingers interlaced in front of you. Round the back, drop the head. We've got a little cat stretch going on. And then turn the palms away and lift the head up again. Maybe lifting the nose to the ceiling. So we're slightly taking it into a back bend. Lift the arms up into the air over your head. Nice big breath in. Exhale. Let the fingertips come down to the floor or towards the floor. And then just the left arm is going up on the inhale. And we come over into a side stretch. So a couple of breaths here, breathing into the left side of the body, seeing how this affects the stretch going on in our toes. Just come up and over And you'll be glad to know you can release the toes, flatten them out. And see how it feels now to allow yourself to lean back. Take your hands behind your hips, lift your knees, and come onto the tops of your feet. So this gives a stretch out over the tops of the ankle and the tops of the toes. Okay, so if you're sitting with the legs in front of you or want lots of flexing and bending and circling of those ankles and feet, keep them moving. Good. And then come back up, your kneeling posture, and cross the right foot on top of the left foot this time. Sitting back, again, you can have cushions under the heel if that makes you feel more comfortable, or blanket under the knees. Good stuff. And we'll bring the hands to the heart. This time we'll inhale the hands up and touch at the top and take them out to the sides again on the exhale. So in your own breath length, good. Making space in the body, but feeling really grounded, really planted down into the earth through our feet, our shins, good. And then just the right hand goes up this time. Up and over we go on the exhale into our side stretch. Oh, I've let you off the toes, haven't I? See if you can flick your toes under, unless you absolutely hated it. Good, little toe stretch there. Nice big breaths. Good. And lift both arms up this time. Inhale and exhale down to kneeling. Unfurl your toes, come to tabletop position. And let those toes relax. So we're going to take downward facing dog, unless you know that's not right for you, in which case I want you to take a hovering sort of rocket cat, which I'll show you, we'll do on the way up, and come in and out of down dog into kneeling as much as you want to. So if we all tuck our toes and lift the hips, but keep the knees really bent and find a long spine. We want to keep the back as relaxed as it feels now, so nice and long, ears sort of between the upper arms, so spines all in one long line. And then if you're coming fully into down dog, you can begin to straighten the legs, lift the hips up, otherwise come back to kneeling and come in and out of this as much as you want to. So we're going to widen the feet today, as wide as our mat, and see how that feels in the lower back. This should help keep the lower back more relaxed. You can bend the knees and straighten the knees, easing ourselves into our down dog. The exhale takes the heels down towards the floor. They don't have to come to the floor. And then whether you're kneeling or whether you're in downward facing dog, I want you to sweep the right leg behind you. So bending the left knee a little bit, sweep the right leg as far over to your left as you can. So first of all, you'll feel a nice long leg in the right leg. See if you can place the ball of your foot, or maybe the whole of the side of the foot on the floor. And then over the next couple of breaths, press into that left foot and see if you can straighten the left leg a little bit. So if you're doing this in kneeling, same thing, you're stretching that right foot behind. Obviously, you're not trying to straighten the leg if you're in kneeling. Good. Uncross the legs. Everyone come down to kneeling. If you want to, sink back into child pose and wriggle the wrists and fingers. Make sure that they're staying nice and relaxed. And then we'll do that on the other side. So we're lifting up into our downward facing dog. Nice and wide today. And then taking the left foot behind into that cross-legged sort of dog. To start with, we're trying to get length in the back leg. And then once we've established the contact with the ground in the back leg, we're pushing into our right leg, seeing what we can do to straighten it. It might not come completely straight, but we're feeling into the muscles of this leg. Good. And then come back to downward facing dog or kneeling. I'm going to take our fire hydrant pose if you're kneeling, or peeing dog, as I like to call it if you're up in your down dog. First of all, lift your right leg out behind you. So nice and long, lifting the right leg out behind you. If you're in downward facing dog, really pushing into the hands. Spiral your thighs in towards each other. That's going to keep the thighs nice and in line. And then bend that right knee. And let your right foot be heavy. Let it drop over towards the left hip. So you're either like this in your three-legged dog, or you can be down, kneeling on the ground. You're still letting the foot drop over. And we're trying to get an opening in that front thigh muscle. So you might be feeling something in the other leg as well, but it's opening up the right thigh that we're trying to do. Good. And then come back down to down dog. Again, you can come back through kneeling, release the wrists, give them a little bit of a rest if you want to, and we'll do that on the other side. This time, from down dog or from kneeling, the left foot lifts up behind. Point those toes towards the floor, so that normally means spiraling in the thigh, inward rotation. And then bending the knee, let the left foot get heavy. It's as if we're going to flip ourselves over into a wild thing, but we're not. And yeah, delightful image of a dog cocking his leg. That's the sort of opening up, lifting into that leg that we want. And we're going to rest down to kneeling. We're going to come through to a lunge. So it's your choice whether you do that from down dog or from kneeling. Well, I want the right foot forward first. So if you're coming up into down dog again, lifting that right foot up, look towards your hands, swing the right foot through, and as best you can, let it land between the hands, and then drop the back knee. So all coming together in a low lunge. Lovely. And this is where you might want to grab some blocks or toilet rolls. And we'll bring the floor up a little bit higher. So the front knee is over the ankle. We're lifting the heart, looking forwards. And I want you to take a nice big breath in here. On the exhale, let the hips be heavy and sink down. And again, you might feel a stretch in the front of the left quad when you're doing that. And then slowly take the hips back. So really drawing that right hip back because the left one will want to lead. Straightening the leg, as is right for you. Maybe the right toes lift up off the ground into our half split. Taking a breath here, bowing down over the leg, nice long back. And then release by bending the knee, coming back into our low lunge. Taking a breath there again, lifting the heart, looking forwards. Exhale, dropping the hips a little more, really getting a nice stretch through the legs. And then slowly drawing them back again. Draw those hips back, bowing into a half split. Ardha Hanumanasana. Good stuff. This time when we release forward, I want you to press into your front foot. Okay, you can take it a little more to the side if you want to, ready to rise up in our half crescent moon. So lifting the hands up if that's okay for you. They can come to the hips if you prefer. But lifting up, lift the heart, lengthen down through the tailbone. Can you scissor the thighs together? And does that make you feel more secure, more lifted? Engage the muscles as though your front foot and your back knee were drawing towards each other. Nice big breath here. And then exhale, come down to the floor. Grab your blocks if you've got them. Tuck your back toes and lift your knee off the floor. So you're in like a runner's lunge. And then we're walking the hands and the blocks around to the side of our mat. So coming into a wide-legged forward fold. You can have the blocks on any height. If you haven't got them, you can be up on your fingertips, or you can perhaps hold on to your shins if you prefer. I want you to find a long back. So that back is staying nice and relaxed today. I want the work to be in those legs, pressing down into the feet, lengthening up through the spine and out through the crown of the head. Now, really press into your right foot, bend the knees a little bit, and I want you to swing into your left foot, sorry. I want you to swing your right foot behind like we did in our down dog. So you're having a nice stretch off to the side. Well done. Almost like a little twist. And see if you can establish connection with the ground and the flat of your foot, the sole of your right foot. And then again, a little press into the left leg. Can you begin to straighten it? Shouldn't be painful, but probably, if you're anything like me and those hamstrings are tight, there's some work going on to do that. Good, keeping the back nice and long. And release. Come back into your wide-legged forward fold. And have a little sway from side to side. Bend one knee, then the other. Getting those knee joints a little bit oiled. Super. And then walking your hands around to the front of your mat again. Bring your blocks with you so they're there ready for the other side. Come back into a runner's lunge, and your choice whether to step back to down dog and stay there, or you can come down to tabletop, maybe even child if you want, for a couple of breaths. Breathing in and out here before we do that on the other side. So this time it's going to be the left leg that we're swinging forward. So maybe you want to lift it if you're in down dog. Look between the hands. That's where you're going to try and land it. Lift it up and over and land it between the hands, even if that means a little shuffle. We're dropping the back knee anyway, so you can always then lift that foot forward if you want to. Find your blocks or come onto your fingertips and breathe here. Lift yourself up. Really tuck the tailbone down and draw the tummy in and see what difference that makes to this lower back area. It's so easy for the work to drop down into there. We want it to be in the legs. So we're using these muscles, engaging the muscles, drawing the thighs together. Big breath in. And then exhale, start taking the hips back, straightening out the leg. Maybe the toes stay on the floor, maybe they lift up. And you bow down towards the leg, but trying to keep the back long rather than hunching and rounding. It doesn't matter how near, how far you are from the leg. Breathe in and out there. Good. And then release forward. Coming back into our low lunge, breathing in. On the exhale, breathing out, sinking into the hips a little more. Good. Inhale. As you exhale, start taking the hips back into our half splits pose. So we're feeling maybe some work going on the back of the calf, around the back of the knee, up around the back of the thigh, going up into the hips. So it's these hamstring muscles, but concentrating on the legs, trying to get all the work today into that area. And releasing forwards. Ready to rise. So press down into that front foot, scissor the thighs together and lift the arms either to the hips or up to the heavens. You can lift the heart forward, whether your head is staying looking straight ahead or the nose looks up at the sky. The chest should feel open, should feel a receiving gesture, draw down the energy from the universe. Big inhale to finish. And exhale. Bring the hands down either side of your foot and find your blocks or supports if you want to use them. Tuck the back toes under and walk yourself around to the side. Good. So we're in our half sort of forward fold here again, keeping the back a little higher up, the head a little higher up than it often is. And this time I want you to turn your heels in, so your toes are pointing out to the corner of the mat, and bend your knees, coming into something like a goddess squat. Okay, it might not be quite as deep. The deeper you go down on the hips, the more intense this next bit's going to feel, just to warn you. And you can have your blocks or your pile of books or whatever on any height. I want you to see if you can come onto your tiptoes. So lifting up your heels. Good. 3 breaths here, if you can. Each exhale, can you bring the hips down a little lower? You might be feeling all sorts of strong sensations. I'm getting these legs working. Well done. Nice, deep, slow breaths, using that ujjayi breath if you know it. Breathing through sensations, but not into pain. And let the exhale release the heels down to the floor as you start walking yourself back round to the front of your mat. And this time, instead of stepping back, you can rock forward and back in your runner's lunge pose, push off with the back foot and come into a forward fold. You're welcome to use the blocks here if that helps you to keep this nice long spine. Keep the knees bent, and we'll work in and out of our forward fold just a few times. So maybe the hands come to the shins, or they're staying on your blocks, or whatever you're using to lift yourself up. Going to inhale as we find length in the spine, halfway lift. Exhale, try and keep the hips up as you bow down. And again, the work should be on the back of the legs, not in the back. So release the knees, feel how that releases the muscles around the hips and the back. And take that twice more. Lifting the hips on the exhale to feel extension down the back of the legs. And then release it. Use the inhale to find length in the spine. And last time, your last bow. Before we roll up, we're going to be doing a couple of balances and working towards an eagle leg pose. It might be helpful to have your blocks next to your left foot, or a pile of books or a toilet roll, whatever you've got. So you might want to move them there now. And then feet hip width apart, pressing down into the ground, rise up, whether you're rolling up, or whether you prefer to come up with a flat back, come up to standing and into Tadasana, our mountain pose. Lovely. And whilst we're here, I'm going to spend a little bit of time appreciating our feet. So looking down at the feet, I want you to see if you can lift the toes up off the ground, maybe spread your fingers and try and spread your toes out, placing them back on the floor, seeing if you can see some space between the toes. Okay, it's the sort of thing that unless you practice this a lot, sometimes the toes just refuse to do anything. But imagine that you're placing them down a little wider than they were before. Good. And then we're going to come onto our tiptoes. So as we inhale, lifting the hands out to the side, slowly rising up. Good. Hands can come back out to the side or down the center, whatever you choose, as we slowly bring the heels down. That's the more challenging part, I think. So use those core muscles twice more as we lift up. Draw in the tummy, draw in the sides, around the waist, the thighs, as we lower down with control. Good stuff. One last time in your own breath length. Rising up and coming down. Good stuff. And release the hands. Take a moment to walk out the feet. So bend one knee and the other. And then getting ready for a balance. If you need to move to a wall or have a chair to your left-hand side, now's the time to do that. First of all, we're going to stretch out the front of the thighs, and then we're going to take it into a nice squidgy eagle pose, which squeezes and rejuvenates all of the legs. So pressing down into your left foot, that's going to be your standing foot. See if you can bend your right knee and catch hold of your right foot behind you. If that's not easy to do, you could try with a strap. I often find that's more awkward than trying to grab my foot. So see how it is for you. And then I want you to press down into your standing foot. Try not to super lock the knee, but draw length up through your body. And then to get this stretch down the front of the thigh, we want to start taking our knee down towards the floor and back. And you'll soon feel it. Think, oh yes, I found my engagement with my quad muscles, these 4 strong muscles down the front of the thigh. So keep the tailbone tucked, the tummy lifted as we stretch down through that knee, and be wary of not letting the knee drift out to the side, okay? It should still be under the hip, and we're taking it backwards rather than out to the side. One more big deep breath here into the stretch. You can always lift your hands for the last part of this if you want to feel that extension down the side of the body. Good. And release. And now getting ready for eagle legs. We're not going to do the arms, but eagle pose is when we wrap ourselves up in a knot. So bending both knees, pressing down into that left foot again. So still working on the left leg as our balancing leg. Lift the right knee up in front and cross over high as you can on the thighs. Good. And toes can either find your block or your pile of books, whatever, on the floor, or they might be able to wrap around the back of the calf. And the hands could be on the hips, or they could be in front of the heart in prayer. Keep the breath going, unclench your jaws. Good, and feel the work, feel the fire in that left leg. If you want to add to the work, you can take a little dip down, going a little lower, and then rise up again. There might be plenty enough work just trying to stand here. One more breath if you can. And then rising up, unwinding, exhaling and taking a moment. Okay, let that feeling wash down through your leg as we feel the balance now can be shared. The weight can be shared between the legs again. You might feel that sensation of energy in the leg we've been standing on. It's had to work really hard. Does it feel different to the right leg? So if the blocks were useful, you can move them over to the right side of the right foot. Spin yourself round if you want a little bit of extra support near the wall or on a chair, whatever. Pressing down into the right foot now. That's going to be our standing foot, keeping those toes nice and wide and spread. First of all, lifting the left foot up, seeing if you can find it, and being careful this doesn't take you into an extreme back bend doing this. Okay, that's the time to use the strap if it does. We still want to keep that tailbone long, tummy drawn up, and then the work starts happening as we draw the knee down and back. And that's when I start feeling a stretch in the front of my thigh. Keep the breath going, breathing in and out. You can even release the knee forward a little on the inhale, and the exhale goes for the stretch. And today, don't let it become all about the balance. I want the work to be in the legs. Good, last breath here. So do Have your fingers or hand on a support if you want to. And release down, setting yourself up ready for eagle on the other side. So we're going to really press down into our right foot, bending the knees, keeping them bent as we lift the left leg up and over. Okay, so it might be a single cross of the leg and our toes find a support. We might be able to tuck the toes around the back of the calf. Good. Hands can be at the heart or on the hips. See if you can draw the spine up, tuck the chin, drawing up through the crown of the head, even though the knees are bent. And then if you want that little bit of extra work, squeezing down as we drop the hips down a little bit. Oh, and up. Good. One more breath before you feel the deliciousness of releasing out of it. And standing on both legs. Aren't we lucky that most of the time we get to walk around using both of our legs for support? Good stuff. Bring your hands in front of your heart. You're going to take a dive back down towards the floor. So inhaling, lifting the arms out and up, and letting the prayer pose come down in front of the body, guiding us down into our forward fold, nice and soft and gentle, coming down to kneeling, again, if that's okay for you. Otherwise, sitting in any of the options that I said. We're going to do hero's pose, which is not for everyone. Heroes is when we're kneeling, but we're trying to get the hips between the ankles. So you might want cushions, blocks, some height under your hips, okay, because it's quite a maneuver for the knees to get you into this position. So make yourself as comfy as possible. And if that's really not happening for you, or you feel a really intense stretch when we start working in this, take one leg forward and we'll do one leg at a time. Okay, another option to get the same work we're about to do is to come onto your side and take one foot behind, like we did in our standing balancing posture, because we're going to be working those quad muscles. So hands come behind the hips, knees push down towards the floor. If the knees lift up at any time, then you've gone too far into that posture for you today. So we're going to start by lifting the heart, lengthening through the spine, elbows are pointing backwards, shoulder blades are drawn together. If you like the feeling, you can drop the head back, otherwise the head can stay in line with the spine. And then you might want to take yourself a little lower, so the torso might drop back. You might come onto your forearms. Just depends how this feels in your body. Breathe into any strong sensation. If you're still not getting any sensation in the legs, or hardly any, then you can tuck your tailbone under and bring yourself down onto the floor. Again, if the knees ping up at this point, come into one of the alternative variations. You might want to come down onto the floor, and stretching the arms out over the head gives that extra work all down the front of the body. Okay, I'm not expecting you to take all of those options. If you've got one leg forward, mindfully release the other one, come up and then tuck the opposite leg under and give hero's pose a go on the other side. We've got another minute, you'll be really glad to know. Working in this posture. Big breaths in, it's strong. It often brings up strong emotions and feelings. Maybe it's good that we're on mute. I can't hear anything that you might be letting out as an expletive. Think of the work that we're getting done in those thighs. Oh, releasing lots of emotions in those thighs. And then when you're ready to come out, gradually lifting the heart, lifting yourself up, and oh, the joy of unwinding your legs and bringing them in front of you. Let them have a little shake out. Really nice, good stuff. That's the hard bit done. So we're going to finish with a half Lord of the Fishes twist and then an inversion. Give them our legs and feet a much well-deserved rest. So first of all, taking your right foot and resting the right ankle across the top of your left thigh, near the knee. And the left leg stays out straight with the toes flexed. And you can bring the hands behind your hips and you can stay here, trying to take this right knee down towards the floor gently, as best you can. Or you can then bend the left knee and the left foot comes onto the ground. And this brings the knee, the leg up closer to us, a bit more intense. It's like doing reverse pigeon, but we're not lying back on the floor. Good. Breathing into that. Take that knee away from you a little more. Lovely. And then to come into our half Lord of the Fishes, you're welcome to wrap that left foot around the side of your left hip or leave it extended. Okay, so the right foot is dropping to the outside of your left thigh, and you've either got the leg extended, or if you really want to go tightly into the twist, you can wrap the foot around. Still want both sit bones to be making contact with the floor or a cushion if you've got a cushion under you. So you decide. And then we're going to lift our arms, get length in the side body, inhale, and exhale, turning gently. You can bring your left hand in front of the left shin, or maybe the arm wraps round so that the left knee is now in the crook of the right knee is now in the crook of the left elbow. 3 breaths here, so lengthening up through the spine on the inhale, and we turn gently on the exhale, head going around last. Every inhale is an opportunity to find more space in the spine, more space between each vertebra. Turning gently. Good. And after your 3rd breath here, unwinding to the front, lengthening out the legs, a little shake. Good. And then we'll do it the other side. So this time the left foot is coming and resting somewhere. Find a comfortable place for your ankle, your shin to sort of rest on the thigh. And that might be enough. You could work here with the hands beside the hips, taking that left knee down towards the ground, keeping the right foot flexed, everything's engaged, everything's working. Or you might want to bend the right knee, place the right foot on the ground. And that makes a stronger sensation around the hip and the thigh. We're still trying to take this left knee away from us. Good. Breathe into that. And then transfer yourself, either stretching the right leg out long or flipping the foot around the side of the hip. So either way, you want to end up with the left knee still pointing up to the sky, the left foot on the floor, outside the knee. Good. Lengthen up through the spine. And then turn towards the bent knee. So you're turning to your left. And that right arm wraps around in an appropriate way. Wraps around the knee and the bent leg. And then you've got 3 breaths. Lengthen, lengthen, lengthen the spine before you turn. And then spiral from the base of the spine all the way up to the head. Nose turns round. Last part of the breath, and then inhale, unwind a bit and see if you can lengthen before trying the twist again. Keep this easy today. We're not forcing ourselves round. We have been working the legs, not the back, remember. And after your 3rd nice deep breath, Unravel yourself. Come back to the front. And you now decide whether you follow me into a half shoulder stand. I'll talk you through that. Or you might want to shimmy yourself over to a bed or a chair or the wall, hips nice and close to the wall, and lie down with your legs up the wall. Okay, if you want to give half shoulder stand a go, much more relaxed than a full shoulder stand. So I like to come into it from sitting because it gives you some momentum to get your legs up in the air, and your forearms are going to push into the mat to help with that lift off. So I rock back, push into my forearms, and then you catch your hips with your hands and settle yourself into your half shoulder stand. So the legs are at an angle. They're not straight up in the air. They're at an angle over your head. Hips relax into your hands like you are holding a bowl of fruit, like your pelvis is the bowl of fruit. And you might move your elbows in closer together, whatever is comfortable for you holding the position. The neck, the head should stay nice and relaxed. I've got a lot of my upper back still on the floor. I'm not right up on my shoulders. And you can always change your mind and take this into a leg lift with the feet resting on something or even just up in the air. And closing the eyes, allow yourself to come inwards. So in the restorative training that I'm undertaking at the moment, they say that you should do this for 20 minutes a day, putting your feet up against the wall and letting them rest. Deeply calming and soothing for the sympathetic, switching on the parasympathetic nervous system. So it calms the mind down, slows the heart rate, slows the breathing. So the half shoulder stand is the slightly more active version of the posture, but both poses, when we have an inversion, the circulatory system is reversed, or rather the effect that gravity has on it is reversed. And all the lovely cleansing lymph fluids flow down into our body and then flash back through again when we right ourselves up the other way. So really cleansing, nourishing posture. And you are welcome, if you're in the restorative version of this where you're supported with the legs on the bed or up the wall, if you feel comfortable there, you're welcome to stay there for our relaxation. Otherwise, I'm going to bend our knees. If you're in half shoulder stand, then the arms find the floor and they act as brakes, and you engage those core muscles like we did on tiptoes as you slowly roll yourself down to the floor, out of the position, and find yourself in a relaxation pose of your choice. So it might be Shavasana, with the toes dropping away from each other, a little bit of space between the arms and the torso. You might like to have the feet wide apart and the knees resting in together, constructive rest pose. Or you might choose to stay with the feet resting up against the wall. So however you choose to settle, give your hips and your shoulders a little wriggle, and let everything release down into the floor. I'm going to take you through a nyasa sequence, a placement of awareness sequence, but with particular attention on the feet and the legs today. So just make sure the jaw is relaxed, closing the eyes gently if they're not already, and feeling that soothing relaxation wash over you. There's no need to move anything, as I mentioned, different parts of the body, bringing your attention there is all you need to do. We'll send deep nourishment in that way. So I want you to become aware of your feet and your toes, and see if you can put all of your awareness into your big toes, effectively like our thumb is on our hands. Let those big toes soften and relax. And let your attention drift from the big toes to the second toes, the toes next to the big toe. Sometimes these toes are a little longer than the big toes, sometimes they're shorter, so we all have different shaped feet. Allow this second toe on each foot to relax as we move into the middle toes. So our third toes on the feet. Sending nourishment and healing just by focusing in on that area. Allowing our awareness to move to the fourth toes, which are effectively like our ring finger. These could be our ring toes if you wear toe rings. Let them release and relax. And then take your awareness to the little toes, often forgotten about. These tuck underneath often because we cram them into socks and shoes most of the time. They're so important to our balance. All of our toes are. Taking your awareness now to the sole of the foot, relaxing the sole of your foot and letting that awareness spread over the top of your foot, over the top of your foot and up over the ankle, releasing and relaxing the ankles. And that sense of relaxation now spreads up to the front of your shins and around the backs of your calves. And let the muscles soften as you bring your attention to them, sending healing and nourishment. And then your focus drifts up to your knees. The complexity of the kneecaps and this joint, the backs of the knees. Find a little space in the backs of the knees. And as your awareness moves up now to these strong thigh muscles, so bringing your attention to the fronts and the backs of your thighs. You've worked hard today. Allow them to relax and release. And then that awareness that you found in the legs now, fully relaxed. Let that spread up around your hips, the lower back, the tummy, sides of the ribs, across the chest and across the back of the shoulder blades, around the shoulders and all down through the arms, over the hands, into the fingers, up through the neck and into the head, letting your skin feel soft on the face, a little bit of space between the teeth so that the jaw and the tongue are relaxed in the mouth. Take that awareness right up to the crown of your head and allow a wash of relaxation to flood down through the body, right down again to the tips of your fingers and the tips of your toes. I want you to take 3 deep breaths, nice big inhale through the nose and a sigh out, exhaling through the mouth. And releasing any remaining tension in the body. One last time. And if your legs are still up the wall, now is the time to bring the knees into your chest. If you're lying on the floor, you might like to do that as well. Having a little hug, and then gently making your way onto your side before you use your hands to slowly press yourself back up to a sitting position. Again, think about how you want the legs to be, whether it's cross-legged, kneeling, legs out in front. And we'll bring our hands together at our heart space, taking a nice deep breath in. And as we breathe out, taking a bow to ourselves, to our practice today, giving thanks for our strong, flexible legs and feet and all the work that they do for us. Namaste.